Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the College Football Game Day Show from the stands. My name is Brian. Alongside me, Andy Hopper and Tom Scavetta, yet again for some Week 6 action. We're going to jump right into the weekly recap of Week 5. Andy, we'll start with you. What caught your eye? I know you might have some things to say about your team here.
Yeah, my team fucking sucks. I will be in attendance tomorrow when they play Nebraska, so hoping for the best there because Nebraska sucks even worse, I think. But you go on the road last week and you get just absolutely dominated by a Purdue team, 44-19. By the way, their head coach is your former defensive coordinator, multiple former Illinois staff members now on staff at Purdue, and they absolutely fucking punked Brett Bielema and his staff. There's zero offensive identity on this team. Barry Lunny looks absolutely lost as an offensive coordinator. They have no idea what they're doing out there. Aaron Henry, the first-year defensive coordinator, I'm not going to pretend like they didn't lose a lot of pieces on that defense, especially in the secondary. It's not the same team coming back fully from last year, but it has just been an incredibly disappointing start to the year for Illinois. A lot higher expectations for them that they have not been able to live up to. And again, I've said this, you don't have to win every game, but to go and lose like that in the second half to a Purdue team coming in with one win is fucking embarrassing. Brett Bielema said in the postgame, we should be embarrassed and that he's going to have some tough conversations with his offensive and defensive coaches. And if that means he's got to force his way into play calling, then that's what needs to happen. I would love to see Brett Bielema calling plays because that most certainly means, more runs up the middle to Caden Fagan, more shit that we're used to this offense doing, and hopefully less just screen pass bullshit gimmicky, come out in 4th and 1 in the shotgun, just chicken shit bullshit football. That if Illinois, if you're really trying to build the program you say you're trying to build, and you're paying this head coach $6.5 million, that last week is fucking unacceptable. So that can't happen the rest of the year, or you will be losing your attendance, you'll be losing the faith in this program. Everything you've been building after last year's season will be gone in a matter. I mean, it's week 6. Like, come on, guys, figure it the fuck out, because whatever that was last week ain't it.
Yeah, recruits too on the line when performances like that happen.
No shit.
Tommy, what about you? Any more positive takes than that?
A little more positive. Notre Dame surviving Duke. Sam Hartman put the team on his back. How about that 17-yard scramble on 4th and 16, eyeing down the defense, sees them back up, and he takes off like a bad boy that he is. Great display of sportsmanship at the end of the game as well, checking on Riley Leonard post-game. As much as I don't like Duke and all of College Game Day outside of Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit should be ashamed of themselves for actually thinking Duke, a basketball school, can beat Notre Dame, a football school. That's the only really method of picking this game, in my opinion. But Mitchell Evans had his coming out game. You want to talk about tight ends at Notre Dame? Tight ends are back at Notre Dame. Mitchell Evans had 6 catches for 134 yards. Howard Cross, the third, 3 tackles for loss and a sack. Riley Leonard putting up Daniel Jones-like college numbers, 88 rushing yards, over 100 passing yards. He did have that one pick. The Irish were just 3 for 15 on 3rd down with 12 penalties, and they win. Not a good performance against Duke. Duke didn't do enough to win the game, though. The Irish took advantage of their opportunities. And then super quickly here, Brian, Ole Miss, I guess you could say upsetting LSU is one thing that stuck out to me. Not a good post-game press conference from Brian Kelly. Jackson Dart's the real deal. And then USC only beating Colorado by 1 touchdown. USC's defense is fraudulent. They have a lot to be concerned about. They will not make the college football playoff.
Yeah, for me, Utah finally taken down without Cam Rising. They were surviving, but they lose 21-7 to Oregon State. And after the game, Cam Rising comes out and says, I wasn't expecting to really tell anyone this, but I just want to let everyone know that I didn't just tear my ACL. I tore my meniscus, MPFL, not even sure what that is, and MCL. It was a big surgery, and it's not an easy comeback. For those of us who are betting on games here, Mr. Rising, maybe tell us that, I don't know, week 1? He's been sitting on this information. We're betting on Utah. I know we had Utah on the cards the first couple of weeks. That is just very not cool, but Mr. Rising there. But yeah, Utah finally gets taken down. Auburn took Georgia to the brink with this as their leading stat line. QB Peyton Thorne, 10 for 19, 82 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Their leading rusher, also QB Peyton Thorne with 92 rushing yards, 0 touchdowns. Leading wide receiver, Rivaldo Fairweather, 4 receptions, 44 yards. So I actually didn't catch that game because I thought it was going to be a blowout. So I really need to go back and watch why that was so close, because that's just abysmal offensive performance from Auburn. I don't know what Georgia was doing out there. USC also taken to the brink by Colorado. Defense looked really bad late. It was a good game to watch, though, as was, like you said, Tommy, Ole Miss versus LSU. Last week might have been a little harsh. I said Quinshawn Judkins needed to transfer away from the team because Lane Train wasn't utilizing him. He was averaging just 14 carries a game. Lane Kiffin said, "No, sir, I'm going to feed this man." And he did eat indeed. 33 carries for 177 yards and a touchdown and a receiving TD to go with it. So great performance by him and Ole Miss. That was a hell of a game. If you didn't watch it, definitely go back and watch the highlights on that one. That will wrap up our recap of Week 5. We'll move into our first segment of the week. It is FanDuel. We've got 3 stories here. Apparently the fans are just in the line of fire here. 3 stories. We'll call them subjects versus the fans. The first one here is the polls versus Maryland. The AP and Coaches Poll both ignoring Maryland in the rankings. They are unranked in both, despite the fact that they are 5-0. Andy, I'll start with you on this one. Who's in the right here? The polls or Maryland?
I believe the polls are right. I think they're 100% justified here. They ain't played nobody, Paul. They ain't played nobody. I believe Maryland's opponents' combined record so far is 7-18. That's not a good record. They've played Towson, Charlotte, Virginia, Michigan State, and Indiana. Do any of those teams scare anybody? No. Those teams are fucking garbage. Has Maryland looked really good, though, while playing them? Yeah. And if you're a somewhat decent team, you should when you're playing teams like that. Towson's 2-3. Charlotte's 1-4. Virginia's 0-5. Michigan State, I believe, 2-3. Indiana's fucking terrible. They're 2-3 as well. So it's like they have played nobody with a winning record. They have played nobody that is worth a shit. So yeah, no, I believe it's 100% justified. I know they've handily beaten everybody. Like they just beat Indiana 44-17. You beat Michigan State by 3 scores. You whooped Virginia's ass. But as you should. I want to see what you do at Ohio State. That'll give me a real barometer of how good this Maryland team is. I think even if they don't win, but they look good and they keep it close, you make it that, then I would be more okay with ranking them. But you got this big test this week. Let's put your money where your mouth is at this point, because up until now, you ain't played jack shit.
That would actually be quite the turnaround there if they went from unranked while undefeated to ranked after their first loss on it. I'm sure that's happened before, but that would be just wild there. Tommy, are the polls correct here, or does Maryland have a case?
100% correct. I hate to just repeat what Andy said, but they haven't played anybody. Indiana and Michigan State are gosh awful. Prove it. Yeah. You have to prove it in the CFP. I'm a Notre Dame fan. We're an independent school. How the hell do you think I feel every single year when we're winning games, finishing 11-1 and get no consideration? At least you're in a Power 5 conference, guys. Prove it. Beat Ohio State this weekend. Please. Sincerely, a diehard Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, Tom, I think you're also just trying to rile up Maryland here so that they do take down Ohio State. That would be very favorable for your boys, the Fighting Irish. But no, I'm on your guys' side as well. I was trying to think of a counterpoint here, and I don't really have much, except that they are blowing teams out. They've got 193 points in 5 games, and they're the only Power 5 team who's undefeated that is unranked. So they're kind of left out of the bunch. Everyone else did slide into the rankings there. But, I mean, looking at it, I don't know who you take out, unless you want to take out, like, Fresno State, who also is, they're rolling, and their schedules looks a little bit better. So, just because you're in the P5, the polls are reflecting that, you still need to earn it. Next one, Pat McAfee versus basically the entire college football fandom world. This isn't even a singular event here. We've got multiple things happening. He is new on College Game Day, of course. He has brought more of a Barstool Sports type attitude to the show, and it is turning fans sour. This past week at the Duke Notre Dame game, he made a kid kick twice, kind of taunting him, egging him on, saying, "I'll give you $1 million if you make this kick." Kid has clearly never kicked any ball in his life. I don't know if he's ever played sport in his life. Kicked it into the fans twice. And then, more importantly here, we have the Washington State flag, Old Crimson. For those of you who do not know, it is a tradition amongst the Washington State fans to bring their flag to every game day, even if their team is on the other side of the country. They will send fans that are with it. And he's just been kind of egging them on, calling the tradition stupid, saying that, oh, you're only doing this now because Washington State is ranked. That, of course, is not the case, and he does not know the history behind it. So, Andy, we'll start with you on this one. Are fans right to be mad at McAfee, or is this kind of an adjustment that we need to see where I don't know, I guess the olds now, and not up with the times of this new Pat McAfee style of commentating, of hosting. Andy, I believe you're on mute.
Yeah, I am. God damn it. Sorry. So you're gonna have to get used to it, right? They're paying him an ungodly amount of money to come be on their network. Whether you like it or not, he's gonna be on game day. I like Pat. I was very into him when he first moved into the media space and did his podcast. I really can't say I've paid too much attention to the daily live show and everything for a couple years now. But I get it. I get the sense of his sense of humor, what he's trying to do. But also, if you're going to be on that show, you need to have some sort of respect for the history of the show. It's not just because they're ranked. They've been doing it since, it was 12 years or something like that. It's been quite a while. So I don't know. As much as I like Pat, I'm gonna side with the fans on this one. I think you need to get educated, you fucking casual.
All right, Tom. You siding with the fans or Pat here?
Yeah, it's easy to say that they just don't understand his shtick. I mean, I'm kind of in the middle here on this one. I don't really know. We haven't seen enough of him yet, but we have seen enough of him on the network to know that, clearly, I mean, there's an 88-year-old man on the show, right? So, I mean, you have to be a little bit better. But to be fair, last week, first time at Duke, fans are getting riled up. I mean, he's just having fun out there. They're kicking field goals in the muddy grass. I don't see a huge deal here, but I would focus more on analyzing, and having fun is important to entertain your audience and your ROR, but the whole marketing perspective, he's there for the marketing perspective, right? Because ESPN has struggled to make money over the last several years. So, Pat's there, and he's a polarizing figure. So, yeah, I mean, it goes both ways, right? Pat has to adjust to the show, but people also need to get used to his shtick, as we would say, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. So to be exact, I'm with you on the kicking thing, Tom. I mean, the kid volunteered to do it, so I mean, you can't give him too much flack for egging him on. The kid put himself in the spotlight. But the flag thing, I do kind of agree. This show's been around essentially forever. Since college football has been that big TV staple in the sports world. And I understand if he doesn't get the whole flag thing, but to call all the fans, say that they're riding the bandwagon. To be exact, it's been 292 college game day shows that they brought that flag to. I don't know. I know it's an entire fan base doing it, but to keep that streak going for that's basically since the start of college game day, 292 shows. They do, I think, 20 a week, or sorry, 20 per year. You're looking at, I think 2003 was when they started. So, yeah, he's definitely a different flavor of host from what they've had in the past, I'll say. I'm not really sure. I think I'm in the middle as well, Tom. I can't really side with anyone here. I think what they should have done maybe is had Pat on his own show, started a certain different flavor of show, because like you said, with an 88-year-old basically geriatric, it's a weird mix, I feel like. So yeah, I'm gonna stay neutral, but I kind of side with the fans here because they have been here much longer than Mr. McAfee on this one. And then lastly, we got a quick one here. Tom has been following this story since the Ohio State Notre Dame game. We have Lou Holtz versus the Ohio State fans. Lou Holtz, after Ohio State's bye week, moved them down 5 spots into number 11 on his poll. Is this ranking justified? Tom, I'm definitely starting with you on this one. Or is this just elite trolling here by Mr. Lou Holtz?
Well, Ohio State is undefeated, but I think he's right. You barely beat Notre Dame. You didn't even score 20 points. Notre Dame beat themselves in that game, quite frankly, guys. I mean, even before the whole 3rd and 19 shit, I mean, you just run the ball on 3 plays, the game's over. I mean, it took until 3 seconds for Ohio State to get inside the 5, and then they run it in for a score. Ryan Day has an awful personality, attacking an 86-year-old man on national television. Ryan Day, as Andy said earlier in the show, not directed at Ryan when he said it previously, but why don't you put your money where your mouth is, okay? This is not the type of thing that you should be saying after your team put out a borderline bad losing product on national television. Lou Holtz has more championships than Ryan Day, by the way. I just want to say that. And Ohio State, unbiasedly, guys, they haven't looked too good this season. they should have lost 2 weeks ago. They had a bye, and other teams played last week, right? I mean, Oregon kicked the shit out of Colorado. Notre Dame came back and beat Duke on the road. So, yeah, you could still put Ohio State over Notre Dame. Maybe I slightly disagree with Lou there, but I don't think number 11 is too far-fetched. I mean, they've only played 4 games, so I think they have to beat better teams. And I don't think they can contend with Michigan this year at all. I don't think they can contend with Michigan. I don't think they could contend with the elites of the Pac-12. I don't think they can compete with the SEC. I don't think they can compete with themselves, quite frankly. So screw Ohio State. Lou Holtz is right, and that's it.
All right, Andy?
Yeah, my favorite part about this is just I'm struggling to take anything seriously that is said on and first of all, anything appearing on the Outkick network at any show hosted by Dan Dockich, because he's a fucking clown. But I do think Lou Holtz has some, it's his opinion. He's watched a lot of fucking football in his life. He's 88 years old or 86 years old or whatever. God damn it. If it's his opinion that Ohio State's not that good, that's his opinion. Ryan Day, what does he really care for? Shouldn't you be worried about your actual football team and playing like the actual games, not what some fucking geriatric dude is saying on some secondary network? It's his poll. It's his fucking opinion. Who cares? You're taking way too much stock in this. Let's not act like Ryan Day is some fucking world beater. I mean, you inherited one of the best jobs in college football, and what have you done since you've been the head coach?
Yeah, I'm on you guys' side as well. I mean, I don't know if I throw him down as far as number 11.
Yeah, I get that part, but
Right.
Also, my argument is, who gives a shit what Lou Holtz thinks?
Right. Yeah, that was my biggest point is everyone has a poll. We've seen some awful polls, especially in the AP and coaches, which actually count. So I'm not sure there's much to take out of this, except it is just elite trolling by Lou Holtz, and it seems to have worked because it's been in the news. Ohio State fans are really mad at a poll that really doesn't matter. It's just one old man's poll in a world of many polls, probably in the hundreds or maybe even in the thousands at this point. I know the AP takes at least 60 voters, I think, and those are legitimate, yes, but that seems like a lot of people to spread votes through. All the coaches vote, so who cares? It's Lou Holtz's poll. Doesn't count for Ohio State's playoff chances. Let the old man do what he wants. I'm with Mr. Holtz on this one. That'll move us into our weekly parlay party. We all got smashed, I believe, last week yet again. From the looks of it, though, at least for two of us, we've gone a bit more tame. Andy, I'll start with you. Yours is a bit more tame. Show us what you got this week.
Yeah, okay. Muted again. Sorry. I put my fucking nuts on the table last week, and it just did not work out at all. Not at all. I got crushed. I didn't even go back and look to see how bad I lost. I just know that I lost it. So this week I went 4 legs because our good buddy Brian here changed it. 4 legs. I think it's plus 1,600. 1566. Army -3. They're hosting Boston College. Boston College fucking sucks. Washington State money line at UCLA. Cam Ward is a million times better quarterback than Dante Moore I think will ever be. And I sneakily think behind Caleb Williams, Cam Ward is the second best quarterback in the Pac-12. You can fucking quote me on that. I will take over 64.5 in UCF. Brian's UCF going to Kansas. Love the over there. Even if it's Bean starting, I still think Kansas can put up a ton of points. And UCF always scores a ton of points. And then finally, Colorado -4.5 at Arizona State. They looked awesome at the end of the game last week. They almost came all the way back and won it. Arizona State is not a good football team. Tom, I don't know if your guy Drew Pine's starting this game. Either way, I think Colorado bounces back. I think they can easily win that game by more than 5 points.
All right, Tom, anything to say about this one? Anything that's going to screw up this parlay here?
Let me hear it, Tom. Tear me up.
I like it. I definitely like the Colorado pick. Yeah, Drew Pine is not a great quarterback. It's solid. I mean, I guess.
Shit.
I don't know. I guess where I kind of get concerned, it's really tough. I think you made a lot of good picks this week. I know you sent yours last night, so you seem very confident in it. I think UCF Kansas will have a lot of points scored. I'm not as confident as you are. That 64.5 will be scored. You'll see why in just a few moments. Boston College did take Florida State to the wire, so I don't know if Army covers 3 against the Eagles, but they could surprise us. But yeah, I think the Army Boston College one is really the only one I'm concerned about.
Yeah, for me, I also like this a lot. I guess if I had to pick a concerning one, it would be the Washington State, just because everyone seems to be on UCLA's jock here, and I'm not sure why. Like, we all know Dante Moore is good. We all know they've played well all season. Um, but Washington State has played very well all season. Like you said, Cam Ward, probably the second best QB in the Pac-12 there, Andy. No shade to Bo Nix. He has improved greatly this season. But Cam Ward is an absolute weapon, and I just don't understand how Washington State can be the underdog here. But maybe there's something we don't know that Vegas does.
There usually is.
Which is why we lose all our parlays, I feel like. Next up, Tom, your parlay for week 6.
Mine is much more than 4 legs. I'll tell you that much. Let's get started. Texas, Oklahoma, over 54.5. They put up a crap ton of points, I believe, the last time they played. This comes in at minus 198, so I sold some points here. I brought the point total down a little bit. You got 2 top quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and Ewers, so definitely like that there. Washington State plus 3.5. I don't feel comfortable actually putting money on the money line, even though I do think they have a good shot of winning this game. Plus 3.5. Dante Moore is a 5-star recruit. Let's not forget that. But you looked really bad against Utah. It just wasn't a good look. And I think Washington State's run defense will show up. And I like Cam Ward a little more right now. This third leg is the one I'm most concerned about. Alabama minus 1.5. That comes in at just minus 106. I believe they lost to A&M 2 years ago in October. Last year they beat them, but Bama has looked better over the past 3 weeks. Not beat Bama often. I know the 2 biggest wins came in 2012, of course, with Johnny TV, and 2021. So I think realistically Bama gets back and wins this game by at least 2 points on the road. UCF and Kansas, I have over 58.5 coming in at minus 192. Sold some points here only because I don't know these teams as well as somebody like a Brian or an Andy would. So again, I'm an independent here. I'm not a Power 5 guy. Next up, Notre Dame minus 6.5 at Louisville. If you learned anything last week, Notre Dame is resilient. They fight. They won't be. Sam Hartman won't have a 50% completion percentage again. That's what I'll say. I mean, he still hasn't turned it over the whole freaking season. He's really good. I trust him at Louisville. And I trust Notre Dame to win by at least a touchdown. Michigan minus 18.5 at Minnesota, minus 110. The Wolverines are good. Minnesota is not. Can I say any more? Finally, this is a give me Ole Miss money line. Give me that money line. The Hogs are 2-3. I don't trust them this season, unfortunately. Ole Miss, Jackson Dart might be throwing some darts out there. This comes in at plus 3,539. That is $10 for $353.90. Or you could do what I did and grant yourself a 50% profit boost, $10 for $531. That's my parlay. Rip me up.
Love it. Another boost up. The odds are crazy. Andy, what do you not like here? Are you going to tear Tom up, or do you like this one?
Only thing I don't like is Michigan, minus 18.5. It's too many points. They've proven all year that they are a liability. They're 1-3-1 against the spread so far. Do I think they're the better team in this matchup? Absolutely. Do I agree with Tom that it's as simple as Michigan's better than Minnesota and they're good and Minnesota's not? Yeah. I just worry because we've seen that they have struggled to cover the number so far. But 18.5 is not as big of a spread as they've been expected, or as big of a number as you have had to lay with them so far this year. So I don't know. I do for it being for the odds you've got there, Tom, and for it being 7 legs, I think it actually I like it a lot. But I just worry simply because Michigan has struggled to cover so far this year, and they've kind of fucked me a couple times.
I as well love the payout here, but one thing I will mention, Tom, I don't know if I should bring it up because it might jinx the bet, but I do believe in week 3, after you also took Michigan into your parlay, you absorbed it from mine, and it lost. You said they were on your ban list, and now here they are. So we'll see if this plays out for you. If there's some redemption here from Michigan, or if the ban list comes back to bite you. That's the only thing that stuck. I saw him when you sent this to me. I was like, uh-oh. Does he remember the ban list, or is he powering through? Does he think he can get some redemption here? So that's the one I'm going to be watching from this list. I think personally they can cover those points, by the way. So we'll see if it's a jinx or if they can pull it off. And then lastly, we have my parlay here. It is a simple, like I said, we're taming these down. Well, Tommy didn't tame it down. Tommy's just going wild with his. But me and Andy have tamed it down. We want to get a win under the belt because mine also did not do well. 3-3 last week. I have LSU minus 6, versus Mizzou. We all know LSU's weapons. Missouri has some weapons of their own with Brady Cook, has almost 1,500 yards through the air. They've got a great running back in Corey Schrader, but LSU, I think it was just a little bit of a hiccup last week. I think they're still the much better team. This is at Mizzou. Does Mizzou even have fans? I don't know. I don't think so. Notre Dame -6 here. Jack Plummer seems to have regressed at QB. Louisville does look like a decent team. But Tom, I've told you this pretty much every week now that you guys have Sam Hartman. You guys are a playoff caliber team. Louisville is not. I think 6 is fairly easy for them to cover here. I'm sure I will eat those words now. Fresno State -6 at Wyoming is my third play on the card. Riding with my boy Mikey Keene here. Fresno State puts up a lot of points. Their offense is dynamic. Again, do people even live in the state of Wyoming as well? I don't know who's going to have less fans, Mizzou or Wyoming here. I don't know. I guess you can call it a bit of an offense. Wyoming does get yards on the ground, but Fresno State on the other side of the ball, that's where they thrive with their rush defense. Rush defense just allowing 93 yards per game on the ground. Lastly, I'm still riding with my transfer kings here, Texas State. They just brought in everyone from around the country, -4 against Louisiana Lafayette. Sold points here. I believe Louisiana Lafayette was actually favored at -2, sold down to Texas State -4 for +220. For a total of +23.37, $10 to win 243. So still a little big, but definitely tamer than usual. And that will move us into our weekly segment. Shots and Chasers is the games of the week here, starting off with the Red River Shootout, Showdown, whatever you like to call it these days. It is Texas. It is Oklahoma. It is a huge game here on the card. Andy, we'll start with you. Who's winning this game?
I like Texas to win. Matchup for me is Dylan Gabriel versus Quinn Ewers, which I'm sure I'm not the only one there. I'm sure that's one that everybody is looking forward to watching. Oklahoma seemingly back, after a really rough year for them last year, a year that we're not used to seeing in Norman. So I do think Texas wins. I do think Texas is the better team here. I think Oklahoma keeps it close, though, and I think we see a classic this week, fellas.
All right, Tom?
Texas beat Bama by 10. Both defenses have been really good. Jonathan Brooks really good between the tackles. Quinn Ewers solid quarterback in the pocket. Xavier Worthy, probably a first-round pick in this year's draft. Not probably, most likely. Adonai Mitchell solid. Brent Venables is a good coach though for the Sooners. Dylan Gabriel has been sacked just 4 times. That offensive line is fantastic. The rotational backfield works. The Sooners have more weapons and the receiving core as far as diversifying. Drake Stoops 4 touchdowns. Nick Anderson with 5. Danny Stutzman, a phenomenal tackler, 49. That's 27 more than the next highest player. And there's 3 Sooners with 2 picks. So defensively, they're the biggest challenge that Texas has faced. The Sooners are 16-8 in this series since the year 2000. I am picking Oklahoma.
All right.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, for me, this shootout, I like to call it the shootout with the OG name here. Always expect 1 million points. And then don't be shocked when you get more than 1 million points in this game. Last year was a little bit one-sided. Texas did win 49-0, just absolutely stuffed Oklahoma. But both teams are undefeated in this matchup for the first time since 2011. That's going to make it really interesting here, despite the fact that Texas probably is more talented all around. It's been interesting to watch Quinn Ewers last couple weeks. He has touchdown runs of 29 and 30 yards the last 2 weeks, 5 rushing touchdowns all season long. That's going to be a lot to handle for that Oklahoma defense. We know Big 12 defenses are known to have holes, let's say, a little bit of Swiss cheese action going on there. So when you have someone who can already throw the ball going dual threat on you with a run game as well, that can hurt you when your defense isn't that great. Oklahoma, like I said, they're blown out 49-0 last year. But the quarterback battle that Andy talked about is going to be interesting here because Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback for Oklahoma, missed last year's game with a concussion. So that 0 points, that goose egg on the scoreboard was obviously affected by losing their starting quarterback. I think it's going to be an interesting one, but I think Texas is just too good this year. I think they're honestly, their back was, and I think they win this one handily, despite Dylan Gabriel being back here. Next up in the Chaser slot, if you don't want to watch that game, we have Ohio State taking on Maryland. I tried to bump up Maryland's stock here in our earlier segment. No one was jumping on it. No one trusts their schedule. Andy, Ohio State, Maryland, who wins this?
Ohio State wins this game. Maryland's not going into Columbus and winning. I'm sorry. Ohio State, they're 20-point favorites. I do think Talia Tagovailoa has had a great year so far. Like I said, they've been impressive in their wins, but they have not played anybody to the caliber of the number 4 team in the country. I don't care if it's a down year for Ohio State, like some people think. Ohio State wins this game. I don't know if they cover the 20 points, but I just don't see Maryland marching in here and winning this game.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, Harrison Jr., Ibuka, Stover, all great weapons. Traydon Henderson on the backfield, those 5 touchdowns. They control the trenches too. Tyleek Williams up there with along with Michael Hall. Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker, has been solid. Talia is going to have a tough task. Solid running backs, though, I will say. Roman Hemby and Colby McDonald are a good 1-2 punch. And I like what they have at the receiving core. They have 3 players with 3 touchdowns each in Deshaun Jones, Ty Felton, and Caden Prather. Bo Braid might be a first-round pick on their defense, but they don't have enough to slow down the Buckeyes. Ohio State wins.
Yeah, like I said, I tried to give Maryland a little bit of props here early on because I knew this was on the card. No one's taken it. Ohio State, to make it even worse, is now rested after that game on Notre Dame. So yeah, it was a tough game, but they've had a week off. That doesn't help Maryland at all here. It's a little bit disrespectful, I think, to have Maryland unranked, but they are sitting at 26 if you consider the votes. So I'm fine with that. ESPN is calling this a potential trap game. Don't think so. I think this is it at the Horseshoe. Ohio State still is good enough to blow this team out. To me, this game is one thing. Simply, it is an NFL scout showcase for Talia. So I guess we'll see how he does and how that affects his draft status because I think Maryland is going to get crushed here. 3:30, we have UCLA taking on Washington State. Andy, who's taking this one?
I mean, you saw it in my parlay. I think Washington State wins, and I don't think it's close. I mean, this is a 13 team in the country going to an unranked UCLA when I'm not sold. Like, I know Dante Moore is a 5-star recruit. He's also a freshman. He has not played in the games that Cam Ward has played in. Washington State's offense, 546 yards per game. I don't care how good your defense is on UCLA. Like, it is going to be tough to stop. Cam Ward's throwing for over 400 yards per game. They're scoring 45.8 points per game. Give me the Cougars, and give me the Cougars easily on the road.
All right, Tom.
I don't feel as comfortable as Andy, not going to lie. UCLA averages 205 rush yards per game, and they're coming off their bye week. So they've had 2 weeks to think about the abysmal 14-7 loss to the Utes, Nate Johnson and company. However, Washington State also had a bye week last week. When I look at 5-star quarterback Dante Moore, I look at a very promising figure here. I have Carson Steele and TJ Hardman in the backfield to complement him. Defensively, they're solid. Latu is likely a second-round pick in this year's draft with those 4 sacks already. Defensively, they have good DBs, but Cam Ward is clearly just a better quarterback. Not just 13 touchdown passes, 3 on the ground as well. So you like ratios, Brian? You combine those 16-0. 16 total touchdowns to no picks. Lincoln Victor, phenomenal. Josh Kelly, 5 tutties. Kyle Williams, 4 tutties. You know what? Yeah, Washington State straight out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like Vegas just knows something that we don't hear. But I'm still sticking with my guns. I think Wazoo is getting disrespected here. Andy, like I said, Dante Moore is a freshman, a true freshman. I don't care how talented you are, these big games, they can come back to haunt you when you don't have that much experience under the lights here. It's not a night game. That would make it a little bit more scary for UCLA, so maybe that helps them out a little here. But listen, Ward on the other end of this, 3rd nationally in yards per game at 347 yards per game throwing. Wazoo has been tested. They beat Wisconsin 31-22. They were ranked at the time. They're not, but I still count that as a good win. Wisconsin's still a solid team this year. And they beat Oregon State, who just took down Utah, a very tough Utah squad. They beat them 38-35. So they've shown us on the field that they can do it. I think they're getting completely disrespected by Vegas here. I'm going with Wazoo. Bring back Old Crimson. Pat McAfee, you're done, boy. You're done. Moving into the chaser for 3:30, we have UNC taking on Syracuse. Andy, who's taking this one?
I think UNC wins this game. This is another matchup where I'm interested to see these 2 quarterbacks play each other. Drake May's a guy that everybody's talking about is number 2 behind Caleb Williams. Will probably be the 2nd quarterback taken this year. He's averaging just a shade under 300 yards per game. The UNC offense is putting up 35 points a game for them. But don't sleep on Syracuse. Garrett Schrader's a dual threat guy that can hurt you with his legs. He can hurt you with his arm. And the Orange are putting up 38 points per game. They come in at 4-1. North Carolina, 9.5-point favorites. Feels like a lot of points for a conference game, but they are the home team. They are ranked. I'm going to go with the Tar Heels here.
All right, Tom.
Syracuse coming off a tough 31-14 loss to Clemson. Garrett Schrader, 8 touchdown passes, 6 on the ground. LaQuint Allen is a solid back, but they don't have much in the receiving game. Defensively, they're good, though, right? Marlowe Wax, 3 forced fumbles and 2 sacks. Justin Barron, 2 picks. Jeremiah Wilson is really good in press man, and Leon Lowry brings a versatile weapon that can blitz the QB or drop back into coverage. And you're looking at Drake May. He's very good so far. The sample size has not been second best quarterback coming out into the NFL this season. I need to see better from him. UNC's favored by 9.5. Seems like a lot. Omarion Hampton with 7 touchdowns. I like their defense a little better this year. UNC.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing I think that makes this close is, like you said, Andy, Garrett Schrader. UNC's defense is suspect at times. They were last year. They're a little bit better this year, only allowing 22 points per game. It's a slight improvement, but the team is still very good. Yeah, Schrader's going to be a weapon to deal with, but I think Drake May just has enough to keep them on the scoreboard. Do they win by double digits? I don't know. I think this is going to be actually a really interesting game. It's going to be tough to decide. I think this is maybe a 2-screener with the UCLA Washington State game, but I think UNC has enough here to dig this one out. At 7:30, we have Georgia, the number 1 team in the nation, taking on ranked Kentucky at number 20. Andy, who's taking this one?
I mean, this is an interesting matchup. You're getting a ranked Kentucky team coming into Athens. They're undefeated as well. Devin Leary under center for them. I know Georgia's the number 1 team in the nation, but they have let some lesser teams hang around to start the year, guys. You know, obviously unblemished so far. They haven't lost. But I believe Kentucky's good enough to hang in this game. I think Georgia still wins it. But this isn't the same Georgia team we saw last year, guys. The gap has closed as far as talent-wise. I do still think they're really good, obviously. But I think Kentucky has a good chance to hang around in this game, maybe keep it 1 score for the majority of it. But I do think Georgia wins at home.
All right, Tom?
That 14.5 won't be covered. Carson Beck was not great last week, but he's still very, very good. Don't let last week shape your opinion on him. DeJuan Edwards, solid running back. Brock Bowers had another awesome game, probably his best of the season thus far. Lad McConkey is back and healthy. You know, he's one of their top receivers. Tyke Smith with 3 picks. Malachi Starks with 2. Both of those guys can pretty much play any receivers well at this level. Javon Bullard might be a 3rd-round pick this year, too. The Wildcats, they beat the Gators 33-14 last week. They looked good. I think a couple of us might have picked Florida over them, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that wasn't a good pick on our part. Ray Davis is
Not
a
me.
beast, man. Yeah, not Andy, but I know I did. That's for sure. Ray Davis, 8 total touchdowns on the year. 3 of them last week to go on top of 280 rushing yards in 1 game on the Gators defense. A defense that everybody said is back. It is not. Devin Leary, just 69 pass yards last week. He didn't have to throw the football. Don't take that as, oh, Devin Leary's bad. That's not the case. Devin Leary was one of the most prized transfer quarterbacks this season. UK will have to establish a good run game to have a chance. They're not doing it, though, against Nazir Stackhouse, Jamas Dumas-Johnson, Samuel Mondon Jr., and that Georgia front 7. It's not happening. Georgia wins by 10 points.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, for me, listen, Georgia, they got scared by Auburn last week. I'll say that. The game was much closer than it should have been. I read off the stat leaders there for Auburn last week. There was not much production at all, so it's kind of embarrassing if you are Georgia. The most important thing is that you do get the win, and speaking of wins, they are on a 22-game win streak, but it looks more threatening every single week. Like you guys mentioned, Ray Davis, an absolute animal on the ground, went for a career high 233 yards in that Florida game you just spoke of, Tom, with 4 touchdowns, 3 on the ground as well. Georgia, typically one of the best rush defenses in the nation, this year allowing over 113 yards per game. That's only good enough for 37th in the nation. So Georgia's definitely a little bit more suspect than prior years here. They're looking for that three-peat. I think nerves may be playing in. They did lose a lot of guys to the draft, but I do think around 10 is probably right here, but I do think Georgia does pull it off. They still have one of the best offensive weapons in the nation in Brock Bowers. Tom, I know you love hearing that. Obviously, the QB situation is still not as great as it should be, but when you have guys like Bowers, who you can, pretty much count on at any time, they run those weird plays with him whenever they can. You get the ball into your best player's hands. That's what they do. I think they beat Kentucky. Yeah, I'm going to say just on double digits, 10 or 11 points here. So I'm going with the Bulldogs. And then lastly, wrapping up our game day card, we have Wyoming taking on ranked Fresno State. Andy, who's winning this one?
I mean, the Bulldogs have been a joy to watch this year. Your guy, Mikey Keene, under center for them. They're 5-0. Obviously, Wyoming, they've not been a pushover either this year. 4-1 to come in. Obviously, that big comeback win over Texas Tech earlier in the year that had people talking. Mikey Keene throwing for right over 300 yards per game. They're putting up 36 points per game. Give me Fresno State. Wyoming is not an easy place to play, but I think Fresno's the better team, and I'll take them here.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, the difference for me here is Mikey Keene. He's better than Andrew Peasley. Peasley's a below-average quarterback, but very good mobility. Harrison Whaley is the factor of their offense. Rook Brown is solid defensively for them, but Fresno State has a lot more. Mikey Keene, Brian's guy, those 14 touchdown passes and nearly 1,500 passing yards through 5 games. He's averaging just right around 300 a game, maybe a little less. But Eric Brooks, really solid, almost 500 yards receiving already. He has 5 touchdowns, and Jalen Moss is another guy that really excites me. Carlton Johnson might be the best DB of the nation statistically this season, with 4 picks, several passes defended too. He has not been tested much, but if you're a box score guy, which I am not, Carlton Johnson is the best DB in the nation right now. Morris Norris Jr., is a little tongue twister, another guy that I like for them defensively. So I think Fresno State is superior. 6-point spread might be tough to cover on the road, but I'll definitely take them to win outright.
Yeah, I talked about Georgia's win streak. The Bulldogs also on a win streak of their own. They won 14 games in a row. Second longest in the nation behind, like I just said, that team I mentioned, Georgia, at 22. So this team knows how to win. I know it's not a Power 5 conference, but they put it together. They're almost the new Boise State, I feel like, of recent. They always put the wins together. They play some decent teams. It's not like they're playing all cupcakes. As far as players to watch go, Maurice Norris Jr. and Cameron Brasha, I believe, each 1.5 sacks against Nevada last weekend, and the team combined for 7 total. That is the most in a Fresno State game since 2013. So we like to talk about Fresno State's offense a lot, all these teams, how they can put up points, but the defense is also clicking on all cylinders. And probably the most impressive stat that I saw looking up notes for this game, Fresno State has gone 40 drives in a row without a 3-and-out. So they're going to get down the field really quick. They're going to be on you. They're going to be in your half the field. And even if they can't get into the end zone every time, if they can get field goal range, they're going to keep putting up points, and that's going to be scary for a Wyoming team that I think is just a little bit average here from what we've been seeing. So I'm going with Fresno State as well. That will wrap up our game day. That will wrap up the show. Thank you for joining us. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Hit it for our boy Andy as well, and Tom as well. Their links down in the description as well. Enjoy the Week 6 games, and we will see everyone back here for the Week 7 action.